Welcome back to the Bigwater podcast. We have another dumpster fire on board today. We have the man known as Country Steve. Now, people have been asking. People literally have been asking. People say that all the time, and then they're not really asking. But at the boat launches, through different messages and things, Steve may be sending these people out, or excuse me, Country may be sending these people out. I don't know, but Country Steve has not been on here for a while. If you don't know who Country Steve is, shame on you for not following along. And if you haven't watched that video, shame on you too. But we are going to talk about some fishing stuff. But from what I understand, we've got a couple little surprises here. Is Country Steve is going to do some interviewing of me, which is amazing because normally he doesn't like to talk. So we're really getting him out of his shell. So Country Steve, what are we going to do today?
We're just going to ask some questions and get some responses and go from there.
Now, the other little surprise that we told you, that fortunately things are going in the right direction, even if some things in the country are going into a literal dumpster fire. We have, right? We have some new people being brought on. We have the boss lady. That is the somewhat affectionate title. There's several could be used perhaps, but you've worked with the boss lady.
Affection I wouldn't put out there.
Right. Yeah. You have worked with the, it's like these elusive lady. Yeah, elusive, but the boss lady will be producing some of the podcasts. We're trying to help producer dude out a little bit. We're distributing some roles because fortunately we have more work than we can do. It's a lot of stuff, as you know, but maybe that's some of what you're going to talk about. I don't know, but there's just a lot of things that go on to do this. It's just not like, seeing a video show up. There's an awful lot of things aside from the fishing aspect but you can't do this without the fishing. And there's just a lot of stuff going on. So
I really don't think people have a clue what really goes into what you do. I mean, yes, you go fishing. Oh, it's fun. Let's go fishing. Yay. It's just, they just happen to be there. And there's no scientific reasons why you do what you do, which, I would like you to explain some of the science that people just think, oh, you just go out there and throw stuff, drink some beers and you catch fish. No. What's the science?
Well, we don't drink in the big water botes, number one.
No, we don't drink in Country Steve's boat.
No,
that
leads to bad fires. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I don't know how much people want to hear on different things. I'm always surprised because you usually, truthfully, it's kind of weird because we always, especially the persona that you are and us being kind of jackasses to each other, both on and off camera. But sometimes I'm amazed at what people do want to hear and don't want to hear. And you sometimes kind of rope that in and say, hey, people, these guys that I know, or this guy that works for me wants to know this, or another buddy or what have you. But there's a lot of stuff. And I think that the biggest thing that I see, and I think you'd agree with this, but is like the basics, right? I always say, like, people ask me all these questions and I have no problem answering, generally speaking, stuff. Some things I'm going to tell them to screw off, but there has to be some boundaries, right? But at some point, when people are asking to do calculus and we can't get past 2 + 2, and for me,
which would
just
be
this week,
common sense.
I think a story that's going to flow along where you're going is I had these guys who have their own boat. They got the same Ranger package me and you both have, right? And they come out here and like, hey, this is super intimidating because not only the waves, but just a lot of water, right? If you live on a small lake or you live in a little river area or whatever, and you come out here, you're like, oh my God, I can't see shore. Where do I go? And then when, they watch our videos and we're catching them in a 200-yard section, it's like, how do I do that? And I think the funny thing is just this spring, we have, obviously, this, like the parking lots are just full of out-of-towners, man, loaded.
Oh, that's another question.
We're going there. But, and those people, and unfortunately, hey, they watch our videos. They know Country Steve. It's crazy on how this thing is kind of snowballed in a positive direction. But these guys are asking the wrong stuff and they're not listening. I just had one on social media the other day, and it's just like, it's really hard for me not to just fire like Country Steve of yesteryear, because the marking at speed thing, guys, if I hear one more person ask me about what settings do I need, I'm going to punch him in the face. I just really
play with them. Educate yourself, play with your settings, see what works for you. Because
it's not even that.
Your boat's different than the boat. Just like there's 3 different Ranger molds, and each of those boats 100% go different speeds.
But before we even get there, I mean, again, not everybody, I shouldn't even say this out loud. Country Steve may or may not back his boat into my shop, and we may or may not be doing some tweaking.
We do 100%.
100%. So, but you people out there are not having that privilege. You're not.
No,
so
because you don't put the work in.
But here's the thing with that is where I was going with that is does your sensitivity, we put sensitivity videos out, they don't watch it, like, which is ironic because we don't have any sensitivity. But if you don't have your transducer in the right spot and I jump in your boat, I don't care if you pay me $1,000 or, you got dinner for me. I can't hit the buttons. Don't do it. You got to have that clean power. You're running Dakota lithium batteries, separate, isolated, heavy wire.
100%.
And you've got that transducer in the exact same spot. You guys want to run them elsewhere? You want to hang these 3-in-1s off your boat? No problem. But it's not going to look, you're not going to do what we're doing. And that's the most important part. You can have the right color husky jerk. You can be right next to me. Boom. But when those fish move, now what?
So going back, because you led right into it, husky jerk. So when we fish, you have a box that has these old, worn out baits, favorite baits, and they always go on your side of the boat, and I always get on my side of the boat the other baits. What is the difference in those baits versus the baits, same color, same manufacturer? Why are some baits out catching other baits?
I would say with a husky jerk, it's probably not the same reason, because I don't know if I see it with husky jerks, because you guys are listening to this. I know I love where you're going with it. I don't think it's the same with a husky jerk, just the way they're manufactured compared to a balsa bait or maybe some of the older stuff that we've used, because so as a good example, if somebody wants to listen to a really good podcast, and it was back right when we first started, we did the first couple, we had some really good people. Captain Chip Cartwright, our buddy. Yep. His dad worked for Eppinger, which is Daredevil, a genius lure designer guy. And Chip, is right there and knows more about that stuff than anybody that I've ever met. Right. And I remember him telling me stories at sport shows. Guys would come in with spoons, just annihilated, right? Just annihilated. And they'd be like, hey, and they're just joking, like, hey, will you give me a new one for this? And Chip's dad always would, Chip to himself would always be like, yeah, I'll give you a brand new one. And the guy's like, wow, what do you mean? I was just kind of letting you know how many fish we were catching on this, K-veg or whatever this, the spoon is.
Dissect that bait apart to see why it was catching more.
Chip paints them again and uses them because, and Chip's thing with, again, away from your point a little bit, but Chip's thing is when he's using brass, they buy this brass in bulk, right? And when they stamp those, it's not pure. There's a little bit difference and there's a little bit different wobble. And I found that with spoons a lot, where it doesn't matter the color. I can catch them on this. I got a purple demon one right now that it doesn't matter what colors work. And that spoon just catches better. And I don't know. Country Steve, are you getting a hot email coming in there?
No, I'm reading on some of my list because I've reached the age of 50, so I can't remember everything.
Are you you have big text? Yeah, I get you.
No. I just got it.
I get you, but no. Oh boy.
The list of questions.
Oh boy, but no, there are baits that are different. I mean, I had a reef runner back in the day, 45.
Is that the one we?
And I don't know how it even stayed true.
Quinny. Is that the reef runners you're talking about? We took to Quinny and slobbered.
No, just I have one individual reef runner that if you look at it, people will be like, "Oh, let me tune that." And I'm like, "No!" So certain baits, just I think with balsa, I think is where that really started, right? Because the core of the balsa or whatever, it's just different. There's different lures. Just you can have 10 chrome blue, whatever they are, DT,
and 2 of them catch more than the other ones.
And 2 of them catch more than the other ones.
What do you do with the other 8?
I give them to you and tell them they're hot and they're free.
Give them to a good kid that's getting into fishing. That's what I've been doing with
so can catch nothing.
Some of my stuff. Donating
it. Here's a tip for the audience. If Country Steve gives you something, there is so many strings attached. It's like freaking Pinocchio. It's a puppet of all puppets. How about that?
I hear you.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's a good one.
Sponsors.
I'm getting really grilled here. This is amazing.
I mean, you have a lot of different sponsors, but you retain the majority of your sponsors, and if there's a sponsor that's gone, it's because you don't want them. It's generally, I mean, that's what I've seen. But I guess
I don't even like the word sponsor.
I get it, but it comes up all the time. And the thing is sponsor, then it becomes, oh, I'm a tournament guy. How much, in all honesty, do sponsors care about guys who fish tournaments? That's a loaded question. But do they care about the tournament, or do they care about the coverage and what those people can do for the sponsors? So some of these people can understand what the sponsors really want.
Country Steve going for the throat 10 minutes, and I love it. No, I think there's 10 things going on here, right? I think they're people, they just want to be affiliated with something. Because even when those companies will come to you, because again, several of the companies I work with, I know because I work very closely, almost as a consulting type basis. I'm like the outside guy. I'm like an outside sales guy, basically, for those companies. And inside, I think that they sometimes need simple things, whether it's content or different things, or they need high res photos, whatever it may be. And these guys either aren't doing it or aren't capable. I mean, you should be capable or you shouldn't be there, but doing things like the podcast, right? Helping.
I think we need to interview the boss lady on that one. That would be
the boss lady. The boss lady does work in the outdoor business, so she does know about this. That might be a whole nother. Yeah, she probably punched somebody.
Repeatedly. Yeah,
she's a little more aggressive, folks, than a producer dude. Throat punches for everybody. Extreme. But I mean, to the sponsor thing is, I think that the thing is like there's one company that I worked with back in the day, and my boss directly was an absolute just piece of shit. And, and I considered leaving the company because of it, because it was so impossible to work with this individual. But yet you can't let a company be defined by, you already know who it is. You can't let a company in your sponsorship be defined by one person, because if they get moved, then all of a sudden everything's great. But if you love the product, right? I mean, a good example would be, it wasn't this, but Ranger boats. Like, I've had opportunities to have a better fiscal situation, shall we say, elsewhere. But like, I mean, there becomes it's their street cred, but there's also just a point of, if you do everything for a dime, like, you got to make a living, but if you do every single thing for a penny, it's not going to end up very good. And it's more of a long haul thing.
Then the boss lady text me, tournament what? We don't care about tournaments.
Did she literally?
Yeah.
Don't show.
Oh, I would never show. But her.
Yeah, no. So the thing is
boss lady says, who cares about tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid thing. I mean, obviously on some of the top end bass stuff, it still holds more relevance than what 100%, we do.
100%, because there's big bank over there. We have no bank.
But at the same point, there are definitely personalities, if you want to call them that, or YouTube kids or content producers or people doing podcasts that are getting paid a lot more than bass pros because they don't bring shit to the table. Like, how about that? I can't remember the guy's name. Jacob Fouts. That was his name. Did you see that whole debacle?
No.
Yeah, I figured it. But anyway, so this guy comes out, he fishes on the Elite Series. Here's the 10-second thing, because I'm sure people listening to this have no idea there. And again, I don't know all details, so I'm not going to try to hold somebody over the fire here. But so this kid comes out, young guy, he made the Elites. Apparently, obviously, if you make that, you're a good fisherman, right? Like, are you KVD or something? Probably not, but who is? So anyhow, this guy goes in and he makes a video about, hey, I got $5,000 in sponsorships and I'm 70 grand in the hole or whatever. Don't quote me on numbers, but I'm not.
But that's legit.
It was pretty close to what it was. And he said, this is bullshit, basically, because, hey, here I am. I made the Elites. You all need to just, and he says right in there, I don't do social media. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at talking to people. And it's like, well, dude, that's like saying I really am a good teacher and I got my teaching qualifications, but I hate children and I'm not good at speaking and I have a lisp and I don't speak English.
If you don't do how I feel about being a charter captain.
Oh God. Oh, we got the dumpster fire country, Steve.
Yeah,
Love
I
it.
100% support that. I mean, I get it, but there's so much work. And that was one of the questions I had. I mean, how much work? Give me your day starting at 5:30. Get up, prep, go fishing. After the fishing at 2, 3 o'clock, what's the rest of your day?
There, the good and the bad part is there is no normal day. So, we're on the water today, but here we are tonight. We're doing a podcast. We have dinner with clients tonight here when we get done.
Yeah.
And then I've already got emails here. We're doing I'm not going to say the project, but we have another project. And so we have another Zoom call set up. So yeah, I mean, the fishing thing and obviously lining up, looking at weather. I've got people already from a week from now. So if you're one of those people, please read the website and don't do this. They're asking what the weather is going to be like, 10 days from now. Hey, we're fishing with you 10. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where we're doing tomorrow, Right. So it is a nonstop deal. It's not a job. It's not a job.
No,
it is a lifestyle
and an adventure. And it's an 80-hour plus week every week, 7 days a week. That's what people, you just go fun fishing. You go fun. That's all. Yeah, we fishing. Let's have a great time. And
no, you're right. One of our mutual friends, I'm not going to throw him under the bus here, but you know who you are because I just got picked up something for Country Steve for you. You know what I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
And I know I told him, he's like, well, what do you, because he wanted me to do something. I was like, dude, I got 100 hours in this week, 100 hours. Like I can't, I'm mentally and physically just done. Like I'm done. Like I'm done.
But that's what people don't really get. They think, it's just fun going fishing. Must be great. Must be nice. They don't have an understanding of what really goes on. The prep.
No, and I think that the thing is when I look at guys, because you have to constantly reevaluate things, just like you do with your job, right? I mean, you're not, I've been doing this for a long time and I'm really good, so now we're going to put her on autopilot. When you look at guys like Swindle or a KVD or something like that, like, dude, those guys, I see them, we work a lot of the same events and for some of the same sponsors, and those guys are hustling, man. And they've made the money, they got the name, they got the following, but they are still the first ones in and the last ones out, man. And that's what these younger guys, I don't think they get.
If you take your foot off the gas, someone's going to come in and take it.
By the way, I'm going to back up because I love being interrogated by Country Steve. I didn't really know it was going to be this way. It's kind of fun. It's kind of scary. Anybody that has watched any of the videos, you have no idea. Like they're like, oh, we feel bad for Country Steve. Like, no, you don't.
Don't leave your feelings out.
No. But did you watch the video, be honest, that me and Captain Chris just shot a week or so ago?
Is that the 50-pound one?
Pushing 55, yeah.
Yeah, no, I did not watch. I seen it on my list, but I did not watch it yet.
So we were out there, and again, listen, I obviously, full disclosure, I work with different lure companies, but we use what we need to use, right? This year, it's been a whole different year. And I thought that I'd bring this back to, something you helped with. And it's funny just because I had a guy stop me in the parking lot, literally the day we were filming this. And he goes, hey, and he's walking down the dock, and I'm picking him up, and he's like, oh, let me guess, using Husky jerks today. And we got, I got rods laying out. And here's the deal, full disclosure, I'm going to use whatever I need to do to catch fish for clients or whatever we're doing. It just is what it is.
You were just rolling right into my questions. It's
the telepathic powers.
No, it's funny because I said, hey, do you want to know the list of questions? You're like, oh, no, I don't want to know anything. I want to walk right into this. And going back to how many of these guys do you think are using the baits to catch the fish, or is there a bait and switch? Because we've been out casting before, and I said, well, let's just throw this in their mouth. And you're like, no, it's not how I do it. And that's legit. You just will not do it. I've been with other people and, oh, yeah, it's a good photo op. Let's take the real bait out and put this bait in. So what do you think the numbers are on that? People bait and switching? Another loaded question.
Dude, here's the deal.
You see stuff that
I know, trust me. I know.
Hey,
but so here's what goes on, people. You want to know, here's the deal. There's two things going on. You got two things going on. You got Joe Public that's fishing a tournament. We got an NWT coming up here, right? Or NWC, whatever. Doesn't matter. You've got Joe Public, and no disrespect, but if you work as an accountant or for Ford Motor Company, you don't have a sponsorship. I doubt you do. If you do, I'm sorry, but whatever. So they don't have that loaded deal because they're making their money from Ford Motor Company or doing taxes or whatever it is, right? Yeah. So that's one end of it. The guys that are the ones that are really trying to make a go at it are where they're caught in the middle, they're pinched. Because certain manufacturers are really unrealistic with it. Like, so you want me to win, and you want me to do this or guide or whatever and use your stuff, yet it doesn't work in certain circumstances, but now you're going to penalize me because I didn't do as good, but I did what I did because you made me use your shit. Right. And the reality is a good company, I would say, or not even a company, it's a philosophy of again, when you say like Rapala or something, does one person at Rapala that I work with define who one of the largest fishing companies in the world? They have 8 continents or something they have offices in. So I would say a good company's like, you just do what you got to do and let's get around that. Companies I work with, hey, if this is working, let's find a way that we make this so that we have something for that. If that need is that big overall. But I think there are sometimes you just have these one-offs. Like, how about, I know you won't remember this because, I'm a student of the game, but KVD won the Classic it was Three Rivers. I don't know what river it was, but Pittsburgh area, like 15 years ago. Somebody can fact check me on this, but he won it on a Rogue. He is Mr. Strike Gang. He has his own jerkbait with his name on it. He has many of them.
Maybe I was going to say maybe a couple more than one.
And he was using an old Pradco Rogue, like old school, as you know. I have hundreds of those as well. Hundreds of those old original Rogues. Right. They're a pain in the ass because they don't run right. But there are certain conditions, which you guys are just going to have to find that out if you book a fishing trip with us. But honestly, I don't have to use them anymore, hardly. But I have them, and I have kicked them in here and there, and all of a sudden they shine. But there are little windows where those things work, and that's why I have so much tackle and don't really probably need 90% of it.
It is funny. I mean, in all honesty, we probably fish the same 10 blades all year and throw out 6 rods. 4 of them have the ones we want to catch fish. The other 2 are to see. And
that's a true story. But again, then the things when people say that is they're all going to go buy those 4, and how come I didn't catch them? Steve was lying to us. Excuse me, Country was lying to us. But now, it's like, well, your boat control, your speed, your location, your angle to dangle, your da.
Then in the day, caught him in the middle. Then later, caught him on the bottom. You know that story.
Erie, but so I want to get back because we have not. People always like, they do a couple of things on podcasts, and I'm not saying we do a great podcast. We've had some really good people on. The only thing I can promise you is we're going to be genuine, no holes bar with stuff, and just kind of call it like it is. And I think people appreciate that. I hope they do, because I see a lot of them that aren't. But I see these hosts and they talk for like 30 minutes before the guest even gets on, and I'm like, dude, we don't care. What? Huh? But brutal honesty. So I haven't talked to you about any of this. I want this all to, like you said, you want to see the questions? No, I want to hear all this fresh. I want to be surprised because I literally want to be like, oh my God. But so me and Captain Chris go out there and we just light them up. And there was guys fishing around us. They weren't catching them. And it's because they were using other stuff that works, but just not that day. And I think the point of this is I talk to you, but also talking to the people is, sometimes when we get things and we go to the till too many times and we don't keep an open mind.
Correct.
And, so this is one of the biggest stringers pushing 55 pounds. I didn't really want to put that on some of that stuff because these guys just oh no, it wasn't. Dude, they were. But at any rate, one of the other biggest stringers I've ever had on camera was you were with us in the boat with Joe Cermelli. We had I can't remember, it was like 40 fish over 9 pounds or something insane. Had some teamers in there. All on 100% on Husky jerks also. Yep. Super cold water. And, that bait when it's super cold is just on fire. But I was literally thinking of that day when we were filming. I was telling Captain Chris, I was like, man, this reminds me of a day with my buddy Jersey Joe and the man not currently known as Country Steve. When we just absolutely laced him on that. And I thought it was funny because even back then it was a different bait that everybody was using then.
People just are so stuck on bandits right now. They don't go back to reef runners. They don't go back to Huskies. They just throw those out and think the world's gonna.
But I know you hate crankbaits. I mean, these people don't know this. I do. That's not your favorite thing to do.
No, but I've been pulling a lot more.
Right. So one thing I don't get with some of these guys, kind of like, not to double talk or whatever, but these people that are like using, like, you'll talk to them and be like, you got 6 rods out, and they're like, I had one of this company A, I had one of company B, I had one of company C, and then I had one reef runner out and one husky jerk and one bandit. And you're like, how do you get any pattern together when you're running 6 different baits on 6 different rods? A totally different.
Don't run 6 different baits and 6 different rods. Run 3 and 3, and then change from there, but keep some consistency so you can get an idea what's going on. But then again, you'd have to spend more time on the water, and then it might not be as fun because it's actually turning into work and some science. And oh my gosh, I can't drink beers and blah, blah, blah. It takes a lot of work.
There's a lot going on there.
There is. I mean, what if you're running all the 6 baits, but you don't have them in the right zone?
Do you, I mean, how vividly do you remember that day we did? Because it was about
Gone on her Pacificles Day. Yeah, I remember the day.
That
and
link
the
is
fog,
out there.
and we couldn't hear people, and we were hooping and hollering, and then people were getting mad and trying to cut in, and yeah, it was a great day.
Blunk, 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 blunk.
Old Joe. Yep.
You guys, if we were to redo that shoot, my boat, not because of my Dakota lithium batteries, would be 200 and some pounds lighter.
Yeah, 100 from me and 100 from Joe.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, 300 from batteries.
Legit. I mean, seriously though, do you ever think about some of those days and just wondered, like, because I thought that, like, reminiscing a little bit while we were self-filming that deal, and we're just catching, and it was just an absolute dumpster fire. We needed more people there. We couldn't get them set. They're hitting one, we're hooking boards to them and such. And they're giants. Like, you get that happening, when you live on Erie, that happens. And right, this is real talk, but because we're here, right? But it's not with 10, 11, 12, pounders.
And one of my questions on here is, where have the big bass been?
Well, I'm not going to name the person, but me and you, we always joke that they're in someone's backyard because he ate them and he gutted them back there. Did we lose Steve? We thought we lost you, Country Steve.
Yeah, we did. We had Mrs. Country Steve go to the phone.
Can you imagine, like, you're Mrs. Country Steve?
Can imagine.
Wow, there's a lucky unlucky lady.
Very lucky Steve.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. At any rate, so you were asking me before we had some technical difficulties about big fish. Was that what you were saying?
Yes. Just where, I mean, you go out and catch a 55-pound sack, but where's been those bags since, Pete Harsh and Ted Takazaki and,
Johnny G
being in 30th place with 41 pounds. We haven't seen those bags. Same thing, Detroit River.
Johnny won with 51 pounds, but it was a manipulated scale, but he says no. Remember that whole ordeal? What a dumpster fire those guys are. The joke amongst us I mean, we're very open, but also have to do things I don't get myself shit canned over too, right? But we always name a certain person, and we say where all the 10-pounders are at, and they're sitting there in his garden because he filleted them all. But
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, the digressing, because that's what I do, but it's just hilarious when, we're in a day and age where I get, I don't know if I'd say hate, and it's not a bunch of people, and I tell them just to screw off very quickly, but you get people that are like, when you're throwing big fish back, that they have a problem with it. That's where we're at in 2020 something, right?
Yeah.
What?
Or just throwing fish back. I mean, I go fishing all the time and just catch and release the fish I catch. It's crazy. And people ask, "You don't have any fish in your life?" I said, "Yeah, I caught about 40 fish." No way. Okay, you're right. There's no way.
You're jiggling your camera around like a fart in a jug. You're gonna make people drunk there, Country Steve.
Sorry, it's a phone. Hold it still.
Nice. We'll have to update your studio if you keep being such an amazing guest. And you're like Geraldo Rivera meets Country Steve. But yeah, I think the big fish thing. If people want to get some insight instead of just where do I go, I think the couple things that I've learned is if go and listen to our telemetry, podcast, that is amazing as far as showing where these fish are going. And I think it all comes back to the same thing. Now with live sonar, I'm watching these fish, even when I'm not using it per se to fish, but I'm using it to learn, right, on a daily basis. And I'm watching these fish, how they're spooking from the boat. Like they're going down 15 feet. They're running 100 feet to the side. They're just gone. And I'm using an electric motor. I'm in stealth mode. I got a black bottom boat. I'm doing all the things I can to make me as stealthy as possible.
Right. But with that being said, running all that sonar, running all that, what is that putting into the water? It's different things. Because you watch, and you've interviewed them, the spearfishing guy, they go down there and they'll tickle the chin of them.
Yeah.
But what's really going on? So is a
well, but you know what it is? Here's what it is. It's just like animals that are like, hey, my brother Bambi got shot, or sister, it would be, right? Got shot by that. So I associate that with danger. Hey, roads are bad because Bullwinkle got smoked by a 18-wheeler.
But that goes into, can animals really reason?
I think they can.
That's a loaded question. And the next
we are getting so deep to Country Steve. I feel like we need a shovel.
Yeah, well, the next question is, you fished with a lot of people. Who's your top 5 in order to fish with?
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do it in order. I don't know, but I would tell you that, and I give credit all, because I feel like it's shitty if you don't. I see a lot of these young guys now that are like, look what I did, but yet they're asking people like me or you know what I mean, and what to do and where to go, and then they're like, oh, I did it all myself, and you're like, no, you didn't, shitbag. No, you didn't.
I've got 3, 4: Hanson, Roach, Sampson, Todd Frank. For you, did I hit any of them?
Yeah. Tell Todd, shove it.
Yeah.
No, me and Todd, we spent a lot of time together there after his little injury deal, which he literally was in tears on our podcast thinking about some of those days. Like literally, like I was like, oh my God, because Todd's like a tough, rough guy. No doubt Roach is still one of those guys that I think, even though he's not part of the business, he's still such an icon. You know what I mean? Like he's just like, he was the original cardboard cutout of walleye fishing, and he developed so many things like high-speed pickups and all this shit on boats. And Hanson, to me, he taught me a lot about fishing, like a lot. Dave Hanson, 100%. I would say the Fofriches, like no doubt the Fofriches in there. Those guys, same thing too. And sometimes, I think it's just even when you're a younger guy and you don't have all the fancy gear, you know what I mean? Those guys, like Dave, I tell people the story all the time where I fished with Dave. The first day I ever fished with Dave was because somebody else was like, yeah, I'm not fishing with him. Right. And Dave's like, oh, I'll fit. And that's how I got to know Dave. And Dave's probably, Gary Roach says he's one of the best fishermen he's ever been around. Right.
Okay.
So I think, the Linders, a bunch of those guys have helped a lot with stuff, and those are good guys. Yeah, I honestly, like, I appreciate just getting together and fishing with some of my buddies too.
That's the thing we need to do more often, and we don't do enough, and people don't realize we're not getting any.
I'm not going to say who it is, but a guy, and he literally said to me, he's like, we haven't fished or got drunk together in like 20 years. And I was like, are we supposed to we're not doing those at the same time, right? And so anyhow, we're going down this summer. We're going to do some deep water stuff. I'm going to take several people over there and kind of cycle them through like a circus and do some of that deep water stuff. It's fun, a little different deal.
Now, besides walleye, what is your favorite fish or fishing to go do?
Man, your Country Steve's getting deep here. This is like Q&A. I love it.
You've been all over.
I'm a closet smallmouth guy. I wish I had more time to make myself good at it. I'm fortunate that Greg Gallagher that caught that record fish has been great friend of mine for 20 some years or whatever. And those guys they hold my hand. Like, we go fishing and it's like a make-a-wish thing for me. Right. Like, I mean, I can do it. I've caught some big smallmouth, I've done some guiding through the years for it. I mean, I've caught an 8-pound smallmouth of my own, but those guys, when I'm fishing with a couple other my buddies that too, it's like when your nephew or something shows up to fish with me, it's like it's almost automatic as we're gonna get. But second half, I was drinking out of my we talk about sponsors. If you're watching the videos, my Rapala stainless steel cup, use it all the time. But my second thing is, and me and you have talked about this, and I'm getting a little more aggressive with you because we've had just life get in the way. What you said is, once we get away from that stuff, I don't give a shit what species it is. Me and you have done a ton of red fishing together because of the setup that we had, and just, yeah. But what did I tell you? I'm like, I don't need to do no more of that. It's not that I don't want to go red fishing again.
Right.
But I've done like 10 trips in a couple of years with you and that. And it's like, now I want to go, I don't even care what it is. I just want to go see some different stuff and go some different places. And I want to put myself in an opportunity to have good fishing at whatever that is.
Yep. 100%.
And I think that the other thing is, and this is a little bit of, people I'm sure going to roll their eyes a little bit at this one, but it's like, this is why you hire a good guide. I have I would say over 50% of the people that fish with me own their own boat. And the same thing that I can appreciate when we fish with me and you, we've hired how many guides, and there's no secret there. When I go to Florida or me and you, North Carolina or whatever, I'm not taking my boat there and going to wreck it or try to figure out the deal. I want to go learn something. I'm not going to jump the guy. I'm not going to GPS him. I'm not going back there. That's the only thing. If you guys are listening, if you're going to do that to me, I'm going to kill you. But I want to go learn something. I want to see something, and I want to experience some great fishing in a different way. I probably don't even almost need to do it more than once or twice, but right. I just want to see what else is out there.
100%. I mean, why do you want to go on a, getaway and take your boat and not know what to do, be out of your element, then have a chance of wrecking your equipment, then you got to go try to go out there and produce the fish, then come in, take care of all your equipment again. I mean, that's back to work. You want to go out of town.
Well,
you want to have fun, catch fish. There's no guarantee you're going to catch fish, but if you hire a good guide, your chances go up dramatically.
Well, when I got some guys that fish with me from out west that are really good fishermen, and they're like, by the time I don't drag my boat, don't pay tolls for all of that, I don't buy a flat of crawlers, I don't buy all these custom baits that I think I need, but I don't need, I'm never going to use again. He's like, I'm damn near where I am with you. And I just don't, I go fun. I don't worry about where we're at. And I don't have to worry about safety, what the weather is. I just sit down and that's what I love. And people that don't believe this and how genuine this is watch the videos when I have Country Steve or Captain Chris or one of those guys on the boat. I'm sitting in the beanbag, folks.
Exactly. On a guided trip.
I am in the beanbag. Now, I've had to throw you out of the driver's seat a couple times. Actually, if they want to watch the video where we put the counter up with Captain Chris and, Country, I did fire them or gave them demerits,
right.
But that's bound to happen.
Who taught you how to fish? Just two-part question. I mean, fish, not your dad take you out, and who really spent the time educating you on the whole science?
It wasn't my dad. And here's the thing, and I'm going to give you a real answer on this, and I think people are not going to probably appreciate or like what I have to say. But when I was fishing with Roach, I learned about life because I was a young kid. I didn't have a driver's license. Think about that. Yeah. I was driving Roach's boat and picking him up at the dock because I couldn't park his truck. Okay.
Exactly.
So there's that. And he taught me about life in the business. But the big thing, I would say, the difference that I see now, especially with these people that send me like an Instagram message and want me to give them a social security number, name, their first child or something after, is they just ask, take. What I did was with the guys, like when I was fishing with Roach, he wasn't a big troller. Like that's why he liked me around. You know what I mean? Like Todd Frank and those guys. Bruce Sampson was not a troller. That's why I fished with him a lot in those early days. But because I kept my mouth shut, which I'm sure you guys find hard to believe.
No,
because I wouldn't have been kept around with that guy. With that old school group, you'd have been gone. but I kept my mouth shut. And the way that we fish spinners right now, this is the same thing with Big Head. He learned that from some of those Minnesota guys fishing as a co-angler on the PWT back in the day.
Let's say, yeah, I would say me would probably be who taught me the most about fishing would have been Pete.
Yeah. But you get in with those guys and they realize you're not there for a quick buck or to steal some info at the ramp in 3 seconds. Like there's genuine relationships. There's some give and take. There's some go back and forth. Right.
Yeah.
But like the Fofferches, same thing. I mean, I learned a lot by just keeping my mouth shut and taking a beating, just taking a whooping.
Yeah.
Same thing I did with the Gallaghers. I went fishing with them last fall, and just take an absolute beating. But half the time I wasn't even fishing. I was just watching. You know what I mean? And I'm just seeing, because I want to see a different way. I know what I'm going to do, but I want to know what another way of doing it is and seeing how that changes compared to what I would have done.
Okay. That was regular fishing. What about ice fishing?
Who taught me how to ice fish?
I mean, taught you more about ice fishing, not just, I dropped this. Who's your biggest influence on the ice fishing? Because they're completely two different styles.
100%. Well, here's a great answer is Shorty Craig for sure.
Okay.
But again,
that's what I would.
Yeah. I mean, dude, Shorty Craig is one of the best ice fishermen on the planet. Plain and simple. Like if someone's like, hey, I'm going to play Michael Jordan in one-on-one. Well, Shorty Craig is my ice fisherman, Michael Jordan. Done. Like no disrespect to Gens or any of these other guys, but right. he's in the conversation. I tell people all the time, I've had days where I was on it and then, you're just par with Shorty Craig. That's just how it is. But Shorty Craig is another prime example, folks. He is not going to show up and tell you what to do or help you. You only learn fishing around Shorty Craig by shutting your mouth and you with him, you have to stick your head in his lap. Quite literally, because he's not going to tell you what he's doing. You have to watch he's not going to tell you what cadence he's doing or whatever.
No. Yeah, I fish with Shorty Craig a lot. And it's funny when we go bass fishing or someone starts catching fish. It's like, what are you using? What are you doing? No, they stop, turn around, watch because they don't want to get their butt kicked anymore. So they're going to pick up real quick. Same thing.
And I think, but that's the difference too. I don't want to sound like an old man on all of these things, but when I keep getting the same responses or from people and they get, they keep getting the same negative things. I think sometimes you have to step back and think it's like a lot of these people that are really good at what they do, they don't owe you anything. I don't owe you anything. We put a lot of free education stuff up there, and these people that just choose to handle it the way that they do is kind of silly. I mean, the same thing like Shorty Craig. I mean, I paid attention and listened, and then I asked him and I said, hey, what can I do? And then he helped me, like a lot of my boat rigging stuff came from Shorty Craig. We put trailers together and stuff, but having that. And I think that a lot of people, young or old, they don't do that anymore. They just want to Instagram message me and say, what do I do?
Yeah. They don't want to put the time in. No. Oh, how does Country Steve get his transducer put on his boat? Well, I spent hours doing work. Doing this, running that, pick this
Country
up.
Steve has been an unpaid taxi driver many times.
Put your time in. Once they learn or see that you're willing to learn, they will help you out. And they will but until you give, you can't receive.
We're not going to say the name because it's just wrong, but do you remember when somebody was like, hey, why does that guy traveling with you? He sucks as a fisherman. And we were like, because he's a really good cook and he's our camp bitch.
Yeah. But he's learned a lot and come a long ways.
Yeah. And but that goes to the point of what you were just saying, but no, I think that those guys, and I honestly was just thinking about the other day, I'm like, man, where would I be at if the Fofferches junior and senior were both still alive? You know what I mean? Would it have been a positive or a negative? Because maybe you're in the shadows as far as not, leaping and just forced to do your own thing. You know what I mean? Because those were like second dads, fishing a lot with those guys and pick you up. And
I know you love to troll. We all know that. But
you were just jumping right. You were rolling. You're slow Alex Trebek. You remember we used to call producer dude slow Alex Trebek, and he got all pissed off.
He gets mad about everything.
I wonder what boss lady. I wonder if are we even still going, or she just shut us off?
Okay, I think producer dude needs to set the line, set everything up, and get it running on the boat. See if he's learned anything over the years.
Oh my god, dude!
Versus the boss lady.
Those are two dumpster fires. I've never had Here, let me just tell you a short little thing. If you give somebody a compliment in the boat, it's over with. I have had clients that are like remember the Ken Jr. and Senior, pretty good in the boat. Don't know really what to do, but they're smart, paying attention to stuff. You give anybody, you give one person a compliment, and it is like the next thing is they're falling out of the boat 3 seconds later. Dude, you can't. You don't get. It just doesn't work.
Favorite style fish, walleye.
Favorite style? Simple. Whatever is working. Now, obviously, if we're talking about trolling, yeah, I'm
trolling.
I'm probably a little better at it.
Sight fishing. I mean, you just trolling. See, I love trolling, but I've gotten worn out on it. So the whole
I was
go ahead.
I was just having this conversation about an hour ago, literally, with a buddy who's fishing the NWT. I'd be interested to see if he actually listens to this. I'm not going to say who it is, and he mentioned one of the guys that's really good with forward-facing sonar. Okay.
Yeah.
And this guy told him privately that Lake Erie was his Achilles because he can't do good with forward-facing. Like he can't chase them down like he's done on Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, other. Yeah. And I gave him my 2 cents on it. I'm only going to give people so much of what the 2 cents was, but basically our fish move so crazy much. 100%. And they don't sit up on structure for long like they do other places.
100%. I've seen that. And that's one of my struggles with forward facing is I want to go fish and start trying to cast for them, cast some crankbaits. But dude, they move so fast.
Do you want and here for people that actually have listened this far, and here's your tip with it. The C word, not the Country Steve C word, not that deal, but the C word, 100%. That's what it is. When most places with current you go to, let's say Detroit River, that's your back door, right?
Yep.
Current becomes a positive because when you don't have current in the Detroit River, it makes things tougher, generally speaking. Correct?
I have learned this last week. I was going to say that it's not just current. Well, it is. I guess I would have to say it is current because you get a south wind, it changes the current. Now you have to change from a quarter, half, 3/8, 5/8 to where you're fishing. You have to have 4 or 5 rods set up, casting in the current depending on the wind. Now, because it really changes the current in the Detroit River. We found spots that on the south wind we can go cast, we can catch bigger fish. We go there the next day because we got a north wind. The current is hauling Djibouti. And you're casting a 3/4 ounce to 1 ounce. And the previous day you were casting half and 3/8. It's
right.
It is.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's current and structure in the Detroit River, 100%.
So the difference to me though is your current, let's say in the river, Detroit River, it helps focus where you need to be and what you need. You got to use a different lure, but it helps decide where you're going to go and what you're going to do. Yep. On Erie, it's the opposite. It moves them to the point you have no idea. It causes them. It's like a tornado coming through, and it keeps changing, and you can't visually see it. Like in a river, you can see seams much better than you can on Erie, right? There's eddies, there's islands and things that are more predictable with those current. And yes, because you've been doing it a long time, when the wind blows this way, how that's going to affect that from the traditional north to south flow. On Erie, it's a dumpster fire. You can go 100 yards this way and your boat's blowing sideways. Over here, it's going the other way because we get pocket current, we get surface current, we got currents going in circles because of the way you got deep to shallow. So I think that's a big portion of it. It's also a lot harder to present those baits. Like one of the conversations I get people all the time that, again, they don't see the big picture of things, and they're like, "Hey, we want to forward face fish with you." I'm
right.
Like, okay. How many days are we fishing in 3 to 4 foot waves, or even 2-footers? These people can't stand up in the boat.
I would say 7 of the time.
And in even my buddies I have some friends that are really, really good that you guys all know who they are, that are with forward facing sonar. And when they're on their own bodies of water and they're like, "Hey, we get a 2-foot chop, man," it gets really tough to do what we need to do. So I think that's another portion of answering your question of why it's not playing as much. I think as that technology changes, obviously there's been transducers released in the last 6 months that shoot, 5 miles compared to what it was. And this is going to keep growing and going. So, but fish are reacting to it too, right? Like that's the elephant in the room to kind of circle back is people aren't, the fish are getting spooked by it. They're not catching them as easy as they were even a couple years ago.
Now, one of my favorite questions that I've listed is why
you really went all out. Let's give Country Steve, everybody. Let's give him a comment below about yay Country Steve if you care and you're still listening.
One of my last questions, why do people from out of state, we won't name the state, the boss lady will know what state it is, seem to come here and troll opposite of what everybody else is doing? And what would be their reasoning why? I mean, you've got 40 boats from Ohio and Michigan going east, and you've got 2, we won't call them cheeseheads, full of an eye, are going the opposite way on a 45, and they're not catching fish because we've observed this. So what are they thinking? Why are they doing this?
I think you got 2 things going on, because I may or may not have yelled many times, this ain't the Fox River, you something. But I think fishing aside, because there's another state that they don't believe in bow mounted trolling motors. They have them on their boat, but they don't put them down, and they troll into 3-footers no matter what it is. I don't understand that one either. But fishing aside, like seriously, because me and you do things pretty much the same, but I'm not going to argue techniques. It's Erie, people are catching fish. I think aside from that, it's just not being an asshole.
Yeah, why troll the opposite way? I mean, they have been yelled at for years.
I think sometimes you just can't fix stupid. Sometimes you just can't fix stupid.
So we need a common sense bill.
I don't think we're going to get it.
No,
that one's, you just asked like why is the sky blue? Actually, there's an answer for that. I'm sure there's some type of answer with chemicals or something, or
I don't know. I can't grasp it.
Do you know, I'm going to do something just because I never know if we're going to get you back on here or not. Because what you have to understand, people that are listening to this, is as producer dude will tell you, and if you really watch the videos, so you never know what Country Steve you're going to get. That's what he said in our last podcast together. I had to listen to it to see what kind of a dumpster fire we had. And it was pretty good. I'll admit. I listened back to it. I was like, oh, they always turn out better than I thought. But you never know what Country Steve you're going to get. So you have to, it's like a child, right? We're like children. I mean, both of us, when you're on good behavior, we've got to get what we can get. How about that? Fair. And the thing is we both accept and understand that we're not even mad. Some people be like, oh, you're talking down to me. Like, no, you're right on. It's fine. But I was thinking back to a thing, because early on with you, and I'm even talking with Mrs. Country Steve about this, like you were like, I don't want to be on camera. And I was like, dude, well then we can't do this. And you're like, all right. So for me, and I'm appreciative, you worked yourself in there a little better. We've talked about this several times, but let's talk about a guy that didn't give 2 shits about the camera. Big head.
Yeah. He missed.
Oh my God. I'm gonna save the ultimate story for another one that me and you do, and I know you know what I'm talking about. But I feel the late Big Head. Oh my gosh, so funny. But yeah, the loosening him up. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions. I did write down. I never write down questions and things like this, but I knew that I just had to fire some off. I don't want you to think about these. We don't even need to like interpret them, but I just feel like it's going to be something. Most embarrassing moment, Country Steve. And I'm not talking about your dad shitting his pants if people listen to that one.
That was there's
No, you liked it too much. Country Steve's dad, just so you guys all know, he doesn't have an embarrassment gene. And once I met him, I understood why we were at with Country Steve.
Yeah, I get it free. Gosh,
You're not that smooth, bitch. Come on.
No, I am trying to think of a most embarrassing moment. I don't any camera. I hate previously to working with you, cameras, MWC, we had to do an interview for the World Walleye Championship, and I just almost fell apart, just that. I mean, I got red-faced, and it was before Mrs. Country Steve, and she's helped me a lot. But man, I was going to lose it.
It's a different deal. And backing up to what you were talking about a little bit with the stuff is, I'm sure there's a better podcaster or talker or radio interviewer or whatever than me, but you've got to work into doing this media thing, to your point of you asking about people wanting to do things. If you're going to work for these companies, the reality is social media and videos and things are a huge, huge part of this. And you've got to, some people got more of a palate to start with. Like you took a lot to get to where we're at.
A lot of work, a lot of grooming.
So you put me on the spot with 5 people. So this one I'm just off the cuff with 5 people on a deserted island. And I feel like you should, if Mrs. Country Steve wasn't sitting within 50 feet of you, what would be your answer?
No, she doesn't judge me, so we're good. I can answer.
She's a saint. Well, who are they?
Who would I want there?
Yeah, you got 5 people, and you're going to be on a deserted island for like 2 years. Who are the 5 people?
For 2 years, I would want to take Shorty Craig because he's just borderline genius,
and he doesn't eat much because he's so small.
Right, and there's nothing he can't do. I mean, have you found something that he can't do?
He's pretty good. He's a dick, but he's pretty good.
The other one would be Mrs. Country Steve because of what she does for me. I mean, you know what she does. I mean, it's the list.
Give her a plaque or a ribbon or something.
I got a magic laundry basket. I just throw clothes, they get folded, clean, put away. I mean, not many people have that. I mean, it's magical. Man, Salma Hayek.
I was waiting for how quick you went to the vajayjay. I really was, because I knew you were going to have the guy to keep you alive. We got you with the guy that's going to keep you alive, and we were hit the vajayjay.
No, it was Mrs. Country Steve.
Yeah, whatever.
So I don't know. I'd have to have some comedian, someone I like. Bill Burr. He's hilarious, but
you like angry redheads, I think.
Yeah.
I had somebody just the other day tell me, they're like, you're like the fishing version of Bill. And I'm like, sure, whatever.
And the 5th one, I wouldn't want a 5th one. That would be good. 5th one would take up time.
Notice to self, guys. I wasn't even included.
It's too much competition there. If you go,
yeah, I'd probably have to kill you and Shorty at the same time, but I never try anyhow. But so I think I might already know my next one here. This is a stupid one, but celebrity crush. Because
celebrity crush. Now we're gonna go with male or female?
Both. The fact that you have a male celebrity crush is slightly disturbing to me, but I'm gonna let you explain yourself.
Well, I mean, just someone I've always looked up to, but he's an old time celebrity. Would be Andy Griffin, a person I'd really like to meet.
Wow. Didn't see that one coming, folks.
Didn't. And the female, I'd probably go with Penelope Cruz.
Oh, so I'm starting to see this Latin sensation is what I'm starting to see over here.
Ladies, love them.
Oh, here's another one that was provided by a producer. The superpower that Country Steve would like to yield. And I just thought, as I was writing that down, I was like, this is not going to go well if he's being honest. Come on, Country.
And
we're paid by the second here, Country.
That is, I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, knowledge, absolute knowledge would be the most powerful thing in the world, which I lack so much of.
Yeah, wouldn't that be, in all seriousness, you start thinking about these things and then the burden that you bear? Because the average person's just not real swift anymore.
No, just endless knowledge about everything. Just being knowledgeable would be.
That's not where I thought you were going to go with this.
Yeah, there's some the other power. I mean, Superman, probably the most powerful of them all. Okay. But
Last time we did this, we talked about a trip that we took, and I'm going to tell a brief. So I'm going to give you a chance to think about something, because I know I'm picking up what we can't beat on Country Steve. He's working hard for us to do what we're doing here, right? And if you guys are sitting in this chair, I got news for you. It's not as easy as you think. But do you remember the time I was wounded? We'll say that I couldn't put my one arm over my head, so I had you drive the boat, and I was just like a Nazi in the boat.
Yeah.
And we went a long ways. And we had a family. Do you remember this? And they sat down and they had a tea party.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
Then they're like, well, you just reel them in. We're like,
I had to be muted.
Do you remember that?
Oh,
like one of the most bizarre freaking days ever. Like,
we've reeled in 30 fish. We're done.
Like,
it was what? Hours, literally 2 hours into it. An hour to get there. An hour to get back.
And then they wanted to go again, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah, Country Steve, you want to go? Click dial tone. No.
So
we were sweating.
What's that?
We were working so hard. We were sweating.
Oh, it was one of those days you would hope to have, one of your kids or somebody that really want to get into fishing. I have that happen all the time where I'm blowing my cover here, but I have people in the boat all the time when we have a fire bite, and I'm just like, man, I can't believe we're wasting this insane fishing on such a piece of shit. Just being honest.
Front of the boat.
Oh my God.
Like they were Yogi Bear out in the middle, like, and it was just non-stop farming fish. Couldn't keep 6. You couldn't keep. I think we went down to 4 boards.
I'm sure.
We went down to 4 boards because we were tired of reeling fishing. And it's not bragging. It was just a spot on a spot, trolling. And they just were, we had really good fish, but they weren't giants. It wasn't like the time we went with that other rain gear company, a long time ago, where we were just cruising along and you're like, what about here? I'm like, no, let's just go a little further.
Yeah, we weren't feeling it.
Just were not feeling it, and we sat down, and it was just the people flew in. They gave you 3 days. They canceled one day, so they were really worried about it. I don't know, he couldn't get his cameras through or whatever it was, and we got it done, the whole expose, in 8 hours, start to finish.
Yeah, I remember that. So you got any other day that was memorable for a good or a bad purpose?
Quinny.
Doesn't have to be with me.
No, Quinny. Walleye fishing. Quinny was probably that one day we had 22. We had 25 fish, and 22 of them were over 10 pounds. And we had 2 14s and 2 13s. And one of your other boat people lost 2 giants.
And that's a prime example of, people saying that the fisheries can't go bad. And you look at what's happening on Mille Lacs right now, and you look at on Lake Ontario with their numbers and things, and you can quite literally over harvest. And I think a lot of it's other things with netting and illegal things that are, on top of it. There's all kinds of craziness that go on, that it's not just a rod and reel situation. And then you get bad spawns and things, right? Like you're going to have your peaks and your valleys, but I think people need to do a better job of respecting the resource.
Don't kill all your big spawners. Quit doing it.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, I'm kind of my profession is kind of shitbags for some of that stuff and the way things are happening. But
amazing what people will eat. Yeah, eat the fish that's been around for so long that's full of mercury. Yeah. Doesn't make sense. Common sense. Where did it go?
So what did you have anything else on your list that you'd like to entertain us with?
No, man, that was okay. Yeah, the other question I had is your favorite type of fish to go fishing for that's not a freshwater fish. Let's go saltwater fish.
I kind of answered that one because, obviously we've had some, I've had what I would call walleye caliber fishing with you for redfish, if that makes sense, where, just would be very difficult to duplicate the success that we had because, we're fishing with the right people at the right place and the right time and all that stuff. And we just were, I was just a monkey in the circus, but right. But yeah, that redfish, that stuff's fun. again, my thing is, and we've talked about this privately, just wanting to go do, like we're talking about, some triple tail. I think a bunch of different things. Again, not because of anything other than just going and experiencing some different places. It's like my buddy Joe Cermelli. He goes, when we did the hook shots thing, and he was doing some other stuff and kicking some things around, and he goes, it's like when he did that B-roll, he said it was like hook shots, but with grown-ups now, right? Because we had just kind of progressed of that age, and he's raising kids, and when he started doing that, there was no kids, and we were acting a fool with things, and your priorities change.
100%. And now with all the social media and everything out there, you see a lot of people that you and I know that are completely different now. You get them out the boat,
some different. Good, some bad.
Right, but you still fly at 90% of who you are, and it's kind of funny.
I was actually at a event recently, and there was a person who didn't really care for how I was handling things, and the boss man said, "That's Ross being Ross. You've been here long enough to know what you're going to get."
You're going to get Ross 100%.
Hey, what's the old saying is I'd rather be somebody's shot of whiskey instead of everybody's cup of tea, right? Like, hey.
Exactly.
Is there anything you could leave us with, like a word of wisdom? Now, any guest we've ever had on here, you should know we're going to probably ask you something like that, and it always gets cut out and edited. So if you're hearing this, Country Steve has really, really done a good job, because everybody always chokes, and there's like, to the point producer dude's like, why do you ask anybody anymore? Why? This is stupid.
Right now I have no words of wisdom.
I knew it.
I just went through 15 questions, 20 questions, and kept going and going and going.
Nice.
Words of wisdom. Put yourself out there. Go do the work. Quit asking for all the answers, because there is no answer to fishing. It's a fish. Go learn the science. Put your time in the water. Now get some ideas of what to do, but apply yourself. Quit trying to get. There's no shortcut to getting rich.
Life lessons by Country Steve.
Right? If you're rich, you're going to be rich. But if you're not rich, you got to put the work in, man.
The only thing I'm going to get you is I'm going to get you a stand for your phone.
Yeah, I apologize, guys, for that. But just Mrs. Country Steve fixed it.
Yeah, she got you all dialed in there. Well, I can tell you, if somebody listened this long, let us know what you want to hear from Country Steve again, because his contract is not up yet. So comment below in there wherever you're at, or shoot us something on the old social.
When we go fishing with Kyle.
Oh yeah, Suburb Kyle I had to pop off at him because he was getting mouthy. He's a very snarky guy, which I can appreciate. He's also, I think, very intelligent. I shouldn't say that here, but yeah, I think we might have to put that out there. I think he needs a whooping is what I think. I don't think he realizes what's going to happen when Country comes across the bow.
And why don't we do a drawing to go fishing with you and me?
Oh my God. This might be official, because we can't even cut this out.
Did you hear Mrs. Country Steve crackle in the background?
No, I didn't. Thank God.
Laughing.
Yeah. She's like, wait a minute. Is that a reward, or is that a punishment?
Winning for abuse.
Winning for abuse. That's what you mean.
Winning for abuse. Yeah, that's a t-shirt right there.
Yep.
People always say, like, where do you find these people? And it's like, how does B Team Bob figure into this? I'm like, not real well. I mean, he's just, Country Steve, beat this. Where such crazy personalities? Crazy. I told him I wanted him to fish with you, because he thinks I'm the Antichrist or something. And he's buddies with Ed Stahusky, and I said, I want me, Ed, Country, and B Team Bob in the boat. I'm like, we would re-educate you.
Someone's not coming back.
No, we need 3 life jackets on this boat, Big Daddy.
Exactly.
At any rate, thanks for tuning into the Bigwater podcast. I'm not even going to say thanks to Steve, because he already knows, but make sure you tune into all our stuff. Subscribe, like, all that other BS there. We're on Instagram, Facebook, pretty much every download site. If you can't find us, it's your own problem. Go to bigwaterfishing.com if you can't, and the links are all there. Until the next episode, we've got more producers. We've got more camera people. We are not going anywhere. We've got Country Steve signed up for 1 more year. I don't know what that even means, but here we are. So until the next episode, we are out.